Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, April 25th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll see right now that the ES had a tremendous two-day drop. That two-day drop right there was one of the biggest two-day drops of the year and also of the recent many months here. You can see it quantified right here. Basically bringing a line across from that two-day high range. You can see only two other instances are similar this year, and after this two-day range here, so from that high to this low, we basically saw a bounce back over the ensuing few weeks. This one over here was a 2-week rally, so from this low to that high, and again we saw a bounce in the ensuing weeks. Now keep in mind, after that major 2-week move, there wasn't an immediate move. There was a 3-week hold and then a turnaround. Over here, another 1, 2, 3-week hold and then a turnaround. Not saying this is going to be a similar case, but we are in a zone where we have oversold to the downside a little bit here into the key range low, and at some point, maybe not this today, these are days rather, not weeks, hold a few days and then turn around. So we could sit down here for a few days, maybe carve out a little bit lower, and then we could be looking at a bounce up ahead. Again, this market has been very bullish on new lows. When you see strong new lows here, this thing has a tendency to turn around pretty well. We're into support. Perhaps we need to go a little bit lower if we take out lows in the 4,000. But again, we're in a zone now to start watching for signs of a potential bounce ahead. The previous week's low is going to be one to watch just from a short-term perspective, to build a small box below the previous week's low here this week and then start to push above that previous week's low and close, call it 42.60 or so. That could start opening up a bounce back to the previous week's midpoint of 43.78. That could be an early bullish case scenario, so keep an eye on the previous week's low as we head into the week. Again, looking for a strong low. Sometimes strong lows develop with a box reversal, which is what's developing right now in the intraday time frame. Let's take a look here at the NQ. NQ, similar price action here in that it had a massive 2-day decline. That 2-day move here down to there, big time move. When you look at it, it was about 1,000 points of movement, and when you bring it across over here, only a handful of days have seen that this year. So that 2-day range right here, this 2-day range right there, this one and that one, so the move down and the move up over here, which was a continuation afterwards, and then we had this one right now, which is sparked to the downside. So I would say that most of these led to a turnaround. The one that did not was this one, and that 2-day range was triggered off of a new low, which is why we thought it would be a continuation leg. The fact that this one is triggered near support or coming into support means that in a day or two or three we might see perhaps a turnaround up ahead. Again, this one, the key level to watch will be the previous week's low as well. Pushing back above that level, 13.3 for example, will start to open up a bit of a bounce back. If we can find acceptance above the previous week's low, that opens up the previous week's midpoint back at 13,800. So 13,800 would be the target on a midpoint basis for the week. Again, watching for rejection down here to suggest a move up. Now, again, keep in mind, after some of these moves over here, it took a few days to kind of find its legs, and then it turned around in those cases. So it wouldn't surprise me if we still kind of go down here and grab the previous month's lows and find a rejection point before turning around here. So keeping an eye on this as we play out near the previous week's low heading into this week. Let's take a look here at crude oil. Big time move in crude oil, down 4.6% already here to begin the week. You can see here the previous week's close continues to be that major pivot of the month. It's either support or resistance, or prices pushing through it. Over here was support, over here support. This time it's resistance and dropping through it. The next area of support is going to be right down to where we were already over the last 6 weeks or so, before bouncing, and those lows right here about 93s, 92, 93. This one is 93, 94. So again, right in that 92, 93, 94 zone, we could be looking at a push downward here to begin the week. Now, this week has already taken out the previous week's lows in big fashion here and is in full expansion mode right now, and we're at the S25, looking for a continuation again down toward about 93s, perhaps not all today, but maybe over the next couple of days. 93s would put you at the S75 for the week, which is 92.89. So we could be looking at a bit more downside into that zone. Again, we're expecting price to continue to hold this support level and trade, say 110 to 93. But a failure at this 93, 92 zone opens up 86, which is a big time key level here in the charts. 86 will be the next major target to the downside if this support level gives way here sometime soon. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin down about 1.5% right now. A very good reaction here that led to a bounce. Obviously, the broader market started to rotate lower. We mentioned there is upper resistance here, and a strong high outside day down develops here, and we're now seeing a retest of these lows. Now keep in mind, there's something about 38,000 here where this market just has continued to hold above that level. 38,000 is here. Anything below 35,000 is, if you don't have an order, you're not getting filled because it's very quick. So we're in that zone. We're entering that zone again where at some point soon we may see a significant enough rejection day that could turn the tide back up toward 46. So we may be, again, another several days away from perhaps poking our way down here and finding some strong low. In that event, we may see a turnaround back toward 46, maybe even 50, as this thing has found higher highs on each rotation, while also having higher lows on the downside. That's a low, that's a higher low. Higher highs on the upper end, 50,000 could be in view. So if we drop down here, again, say anything below 38,000, that could be an opportunity to watch for rejection and turn this thing back up. A failure to hold 34,000 would be significant. Anything can happen. And the fact that this thing failed to hold the previous year's close still opens the door to the previous year's low, although that has been a long shot so far this year as this thing has continued to hold. So again, watching to see how this plays out. There's always that potential here where that could be tested, and again, if it is, it would be a tremendous opportunity to fade it back up the range. All right, let's take a look at Ether futures. Last one here. Right now, this one also showing a pullback here. Again, bounced off the 3,100, 3,200 level and dropping down. This has been about a midline here for price, 2,800. 2,800 has been about a midline price for Ethereum so far this year. You can see from that key range high sold off to that key range low. The midpoint right here is basically 2,800, and so that's been the midline of the key range. We've only tested the edges one time, and it was here, and you got a squat bar and a reversal back to precisely that midline. So 2,800 is important. We could continue to chop in here a bit. If you fail at 28, again, you start to open up the lower half of this distribution. Last time, like Bitcoin here, you're not getting much below 2,500. It's few and far between to get down below those levels, and then you see a pop. Anything can happen. And again, if it were to drop, we could see a move that takes us quite a bit lower. Previous year's low maybe not in play, but anything can happen again. So watch and see how this behaves here over the next several days, because crossing below this midline here into support could provide enough of a bounce to bring this thing back up. And again, prices as high as 3,600 could be in play, which is what we've maintained for much of this first part of the year. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the new week of trading. Happy Monday, everyone. Great to be back with you all. We'll see you in the trading room. Take care.